Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining me today. I apologize for the delay in the start time of our AMA today. I was in an interview for 4 hours and the interview took longer than I had expected. To give you some updates on where we stand and what's going on, I was interviewing potentially our first recruit in Sparkster Labs. As I mentioned in the past, this particular candidate has over 35 years of software development experience. He graduated from the University of Cambridge in mathematics and computer science, and we had an extensive 4-hour interview, today with this candidate. Is a second interview. He will proceed on to the third interview, which will be early next year. With regards to the project, this week has been a very tough week for us. We ran into a bug with a library that isn't ours. The library is called OpenDHT, and we discovered a significant networking bug with this library. We've been in touch with the development team of this library, but it has meant that we've lost a week of time. To make up for lost time, our team will be working next week, including Christmas Day. I had hoped that we'd be in the process of deploying the network today, but that's not the case. So, yeah, I am disappointed, with this situation. But all I can say is the team is doing their absolute best and working tremendously hard to get this delivered this week. Delivered by the end of next week. I don't know many other teams in crypto that are committed to that are going to be working on Christmas Day, but I can tell you that at Sparkster we are. Finally, I'm leaving for Los Angeles this weekend. I'll be in Los Angeles. I'll be in the US for approximately 4 weeks. I am visiting CES early in January, which is the Consumer Electronics Show, the largest technology show in the US. Excuse me. And I have several meetings booked after that, and then I'll be returning to the UK. I'm looking at office space and interviewing more candidates in Los Angeles for that possible office over there. So that's kind of where we are and what's going on. And that being said, you know that I've spent most of my time focused on the technology challenges this week, as well as recruitment. So let's open this up to questions. Any questions I can answer for anybody? It's an important AMA because I'm wearing a jacket. It's just because I'm interviewing today and obviously interviewing a very senior candidate. And this is an important recruit because it kind of sets the expectations and the position of what we're going to be doing in Cambridge and identifying the right people and the right mindset and the right attitude and the right approach to things and the right motivations and so forth is a difficult thing to do, and so this is where we're at. Someone's asking, what are we disappointed about? I'm disappointed about that we've found a bug in a library that we're using called OpenDHT. We've notified those developers about the bug, but it causes significant delays to us because it's the library that we're using to facilitate communication between the nodes. So it's a challenge. And so, we've got some people in our team that are putting in place mitigation strategies to rip and replace that library, rip out OpenDHT and replace it with, something else, maybe Whisper or something along those lines. Yeah. We shouldn't be working on Christmas Day. It'd be ideal if we weren't working on Christmas Day, but we've got deadlines to achieve, When are we unlocking? Well, we're not unlocking in 2018. I'm happy to see the market going upwards, and I hope that continues. But certainly not this year we're unlocking. We'll explore unlocking early next year. Any movement with ARM? Yeah, we have some movement with ARM. I received an email from them this week. They want to set up a meeting for, I think, the 7th of January, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm meeting with some senior people from the ARM team to talk about how we might be able to pilot something with them. Can I tell you about TPS? There's no further updates on our TPS. What I can tell you is we're consistently seeing more than 1,000 TPS per cell. You know, that's kind of where we are. What that means is that the fundamental premise on which our technology is based means that there's no challenges for us to achieve 10 million transactions a second if we have sufficient participation, meaning we have sufficient number of people that form sufficient numbers of cells, that would be 10,000 cells, then we would achieve 10 million transactions a second. Someone is saying that they see that Binance is working on a DEX, which will be live soon. Will we be listed on that? Can we be listed on that DEX? I'll be honest with you, I don't know if their listing procedure for their DEX is different from their traditional listing process. If anyone has any insight on this, it would be good if they could provide some insight. How much ETH is left? The majority of the ETH is left, and also all of the USD that we cashed out has not been touched. It remains, all of it's still there. How about the vote in terms of the unlock? Well, the premise of the vote was that we would have, you know, stable conditions. We're not in a position, in my opinion, yet where we've reached stability. Nobody knows if this is a meaningful rise in the market or not. So we'll kind of wait and see how that goes. S is saying it's technically possible for us to get listed on Binance's DEX because we have our own chain. I would think so too. How is everybody doing? I'm sure that there's positive sentiment with regards to the rise in the market. You know, it's wonderful to see a turnaround at this stage. I think that people expected the downturn to last a lot longer than it has. It's good to see a bounce, and I hope that that continues to be an upward trend, but I'd love to get some feedback and hear from everybody else. Crypto's asking, thanks for the AMA, my pleasure. Thank you for being here. Have we had any new contacts with any large potential clients or companies? Yes, we are continually reaching out to companies and continually working on forming partnerships. That's what Shabir does all day, every day. Have we finalized an agreement with Cambridge? We have not finalized an agreement with Cambridge's professors yet. They are all on vacation. Their vacation starts pretty early on in December. I was in Cambridge, I think it was last week I was in Cambridge, last Wednesday. And that was the very last day that people were around. So we won't be hearing anything from them until, you know, the second or third week of the new year. Don't gamble on breaking 6K BTC. We're not gambling on anything. Our decisions are not based on what price BTC is. Lorenzo saying Ian is bullish beyond belief and thinks February is a good time to unlock. He knows some good news that we don't. I think the question is, does he know some good news that we don't know yet? Well, I think that, you know, what we've talked with Ian about is the status of some of the relationships and the status of some of the partnerships that we're pursuing. You know, and yeah, so. You know, I'm very happy to hear that Ian is very bullish. I had 2 calls with him this week. In fact, I had 2 calls with him, and yeah, I'm very happy to hear that, you know, we have his support. Some people have asked, why isn't? Or I see people continually asking, why is Sparkster not listed on his disclosure of projects that he's an advisor to, or projects that have given him tokens, or so forth. And the reason that we're not there is because we have not paid him or solicited his opinion. And I think that comes as a surprise to a lot of people, that that his opinion and his ranking of us as a Hall of Fame project is truly his own opinion, and not one that we've influenced. And that's just the truth. We haven't paid Ian for his opinion. So I think people are surprised to learn that and discover that. Anybody have any interesting plans for Christmas that they want to share with the community? Going anywhere nice? Doing anything novel or interesting? Unfortunately for us, we're going to be hard at work, but it's what has to be done, right? Meeting goals and meeting deadlines is of critical importance. Buster votes for Christmas Eve off for us. I would too, believe me. Kuhn says he's island hopping in Thailand. Well, that sounds amazing. That truly sounds amazing. I hope you make the most of it and have a great time. Eugene says he appreciates the hard work and communications. It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. He wants to know, will we deliver the mainnet in 2018, considering the bug? Well, we're going to do absolutely everything possible to deliver the mainnet. The team are literally working around the clock, and they have been for the last couple of weeks to get this done on time. When we discovered this bug about a week ago, we tested everything we possibly could to first identify where the problem was. Is it in what we've done, or is it in something that, or is it in an external library? Naturally, when you are using open source libraries, you tend to think that they're stable. So you look at your own code first, and you look through what you've done and how you've implemented things in a lot of detail. And we spent a lot of time combing through our own implementation. We didn't find the bug there, so we reached out to the team at OpenDHT, and they gave us they gave us a tool to test, to test their implementation independently of what we've built. And that's when we found out the problem is, in fact, with them. So we're doing absolutely everything we can. Nikita would like me to elaborate on how a mainnet might be able to function without tokens. So at the end of the day, a mainnet is software, and tokens are given to people to incentivize them to participate. And it also is a mechanism to ensure that there's safe participation. When you look at proof of stake algorithms, what's interesting about them, there was an analogy that someone once said that in a proof of stake environment, if you're caught cheating, it's like in the proof of work world, it's like setting the entire mining farm on fire if you're ever caught cheating. Because in a proof of stake environment, your stake is taken away from you. And so you've lost all of your ability to participate in the network without contributing more capital, more collateral. So what are the implications of having a mainnet without tokens? Well, it means that there's no incentive to participate from people providing masternodes and people providing compute and verification capacity or hardware. But I hope that the community will want to participate simply because they're supporters of the project. In the long run, obviously, it's not sustainable. Even in the medium term, it's not sustainable to have a mainnet without tokens. There's also no real guarantees of safety and security. Now, I don't think that that's a big problem. Why is there no guarantees of safety and security? Because there's nothing at stake, right? But I don't see that as a problem, because I think the people that would be interested in using our mainnet at this point in time are people that will be testing and trying to figure out, how might I use this network to solve a problem that I have. It doesn't mean that they have something that they actually want to run and pay for the execution of immediately. So I think that there's negligible impact in the very short term of us having tokens locked. And obviously, it's in my interest and everybody else's interest to have tokens unlocked as soon as possible. Harish is saying, please do not delay mainnet for Sparkster. He doesn't want to be wrecked. I don't want to delay it, believe me, and the team really don't want to delay it. They've made the decision themselves to work on Christmas Day and work on Christmas Eve and work all of next week. They will take Monday the 31st. I believe it's a Monday. They will be taking. They'll certainly be taking New Year's Day off, and I believe they'll be taking part of New Year's Eve off. But again, the decision rests in their hands. What's the intention, even in the short term, of launching the mainnet without tokens? Is it because of the technical reasons, or is it because we feel the market conditions are not appropriate? The reason for delaying mainnet, sorry, not delaying mainnet, but I don't intend to delay mainnet. We intend to launch. The reason for not unlocking tokens is because I still think that there's uncertainty in the market, and I'd like there to be a return of confidence in crypto in general before we do make the decision to unlock. The greater the confidence in the market, the greater the participation in purchasing tokens on exchange. As I've said in the past, it doesn't seem to me like exchange bias for newly listed projects has returned. I don't think that we're in that position. So I think a little bit of patience is going to pay off for us, and we're very close. I think we're beginning to see the semblance of a market recovery, and that in itself, I believe, will bring a return of confidence. Can we discuss the plans around switching Nikita's asking, can we discuss the plans around switching the tokens from Ether's chain onto our own chain? Is there a plan, and what are the implications? So in the short to medium term, at least I would say in the first 6 months, there's no plans to move off of Ethereum's network. It's something that we may consider, after the first 6 months. I think that there's other things that we've got to focus on. There's use cases and pilots that I want to get us focusing our attention on before we work on things like building our own token. I do think that that's somewhat of a novelty, having our own, hosting the token locally in our network. I think that that's a bit of a novelty. It's not critical, because at the end of the day, there's no impact or implications of running on Ethereum's network, other than you have to have a little bit of Ether to execute those transactions. So I don't see any implications. We're talking about batching transactions and executing them on Ethereum, so the network isn't impinged by what happens on Ethereum. So I don't see anything that would be detrimental in any way at this point in time. Metronome wants to know, when can we start setting up masternodes? Once mainnet goes live, or when tokens are unlocked? When will we release information about masternodes, exact number of tokens, equipment, procedures, etc.? So once the network is live, you will be able to run a masternode. However, you won't be compensated for running a masternode until the mainnet is live and until the tokens are unlocked. Closer to the time when we decide to unlock tokens, we'll be releasing information about the number of tokens and the equipment and so forth. Olga doesn't believe that there'll be a return in confidence in the market in 2019. I appreciate your input. So Buster wants to know, couldn't I be, or I think he means Sparkster in general, be one of the catalysts to create interest in the market again, rather than waiting for the markets to correct themselves? I think we can, but to a certain degree. I think that there are still people that are gripped by fear, and there are still people that are uncertain about the direction of things. There's a lot of uncertainty, right? Nobody knows if this rise that's occurred in the last few days is going to stay, or are we going to see things turn in the other direction again? We don't know yet if we've got stability. It is a very, very good sign that there's life in the market and that there's not just a downward spiral. And we've now reached, what appears to be some sort of support, right? We'll see if the support holds. I think that we should be more cautious rather than acting, acting too quickly. Let's wait and see. We've waited this long, a little bit longer. I think will pay off, will pay dividends. Harish is saying, if we don't keep our word and delay things with different names like pre-mainnet, private mainnet, public mainnet, but not a real one, right? Then tokens will dump, and investors are not idiots. Well, if you want to see what our mainnet does, go to github.me/Sparkster-me, click on decentralized cloud. You can see what the mainnet does. You can see it's a real, complete, full, legitimate mainnet. Although it is an alpha mainnet, but it is a mainnet. S says that we should have a native token after 6 months, and he wants to have a poll for that. Yeah, let's review that in the new year. What I want to do is I don't want to compromise because there's limited development time, right? So I don't want to compromise what the efforts that we're making in terms of relationships and pilots that we're working on trying to bring about that will be tested on our mainnet. Nikita wants to know, am I concerned about the speed of the Ethereum network? No, because the only time that the Ethereum net is important is when people are adding tokens or taking away tokens. Miners want to be paid, things like that. Otherwise, there's no implications on the network itself. Metronome says, thank you for the answers, appreciate it. Mass adoption of Sparkster's product is the key of concentration. Yes, it is. It's truly, adoption is absolutely what we're focused on. This is not just about software development. Adoption and real world use cases and people that we can work with is critical, right? Because that's what this is really all about. When nobody at Sparkster is building technology for technology's sake. Jota wants to know, he's saying, it's great to hear Sparkster's AMA every week. Thank you for that. I hear people commenting, all we do is AMAs. We do these obviously to keep everybody informed and to keep everybody abreast of what's going on and what our developments are and what we're working on, and also to maintain a level of transparency between us and the community. So thank you for appreciating that. Do we have to make some changes considering Ethereum's Constantinople next year? We don't think that that's going to have substantial, meaningful implications in the implementation. We think that that's limited and manageable. Patrick Izo wants to know, are there any marketing prospects in mind to enhance the brand and value of Sparkster? Yes, so we are working on lining up and preparing the things that we need for marketing our product to different types of people. And I'm talking about users here. So this week I met with some interesting people with regards to coming on board and helping us with some social activities with regards to communicating the value of the Sparkster platform to people who would be users of the Sparkster platform. As you know, we've engaged a PR firm to assist us by the name of Marlin PR, who'll be starting working with us next year, early next year. And that's kind of going on. And we're continually engaging. We've engaged writers and things like that to talk about different ways in which we want to market and communicate the value of the decentralized cloud and how it's going to be able to help in certain use cases. So there is definitely work going on in that area. Crypto wants to know, will I be delivering a speech at the Las Vegas event? No, I will not be delivering a speech at the event. How many of Sparkster's people will attend this event? At the moment, only I am going to this event. Nobody else from the team is going to the event. S wants to know, can I elaborate on what partnerships have been done to date and what we're in the process of? So today we have a partnership with Utrust, we have a partnership with Credits, we have a partnership with ARM, we have a collaboration with the University of Cambridge, and those are the things that we've announced. We've got many relationships and partnerships that are in the pipeline, some of which we have not yet announced, and many which are in their development stage. And the process of developing a partnership is not a small thing, right? First, you've got to get in touch with the right people. Then you've got to make sure that we are able to add value to them and that their relationship with us makes sense to Sparkster, right? Meaning that they do more than just put our name on a banner. And we get many such vanity opportunities, which we don't take. And then we've got to go through a legal process. There's a risk management sort of framework that usually comes up around these sorts of things. There's a structure and a timeline. So there's a lot of discussions and so forth that have to go on before things can get finalized and formalized. Saj, where's the additional code that was promised last Friday? It's there. Go to github.me/Sparkster- github.com/Sparkster-me and click on decentralized cloud. You'll see that we released the storage node and we released tests. We've released many other things. So that's done and that's there for you to see. S wants to know if we could buy back some of the sold ETH to cover some of the loss. As the market shows a bull run, it was pegged at a higher ICO and sold, and we should buy back. Yeah, it's something we're considering. We may buy back. The market is currently lower. It's higher in some ways from where we sold. It's lower than where we sold in some other cases. So we're about even if we were to, go back into ETH in entirety today. So it's something that we're considering. Our primary focus, again, it's very, our decision-making structure is different from maybe the decision-making structure an investor would make. We're not making decisions like an investor would. We're making decisions from the perspective of risk management and risk mitigation. That's the reason we sold the cash. It's not, or we cashed out some of that ETH. It's not because we need the cash. It's because we're just taking preventative measures for risk mitigation. Jared wants to know, do we have any thoughts about doing an IPO or trading on NASDAQ? With the tech, financial resources, and token security trend, it might be a huge idea. I do think that, we certainly are very interested in an actual public offering in an IPO, but I think that we need to get a much longer track record in terms of customers and revenues and those sorts of things before we go down the road of thinking about that. And I'm sure the next question is going to come, how does that impact token holders? I think that that's a decision for down the road for us to evaluate what that would look like and how that might work and what the security regulations exist at that point in time, and how all that stuff might work. So it's not something that I can provide any insight on right now. But in terms of an IPO, yes, we do want to hold an IPO, but I don't think that that's something that will occur for at least a few years until we have a solid, proven, reliable, trustable track record of revenues and customer generation and growth and such. Today we're at essentially the formative stage of the business, which is, we're getting technology out and we're telling the world about what we've done. S wants to know, can we provide dividends to token holders and give them voting rights? We're a utility token, not a security token. So that's not something that we can do in our current form. Something that maybe we can look at in the future. Apologies, I've been talking a lot today. 4-hour interview is quite draining, as you might imagine. Buster wants to know, have we requested an exemption from the SEC or filed a Regulation D or whatnot? No, we've not filed a regulation. I think we would, if we were to think about doing such a thing, we'd file a Regulation S, not a Regulation D. And no, we have not applied for such a thing because we don't have US token holders. And so there's no necessity for us to do that because we're not collecting, anything from US investors. Hey, Nikita, I think I've answered this question. Am I concerned about the speed of the Ethereum network, but it causes issues with the TPS of Sparkster, and what impact may it have? It won't have any impact on Sparkster's TPS because we're not directly integrated. I mean, we are connected and integrated with Ethereum's network, or we will be at the time of mainnet, but at the time of token unlock. But the actual operation of the Sparkster network is not dependent on Ethereum. It's not underpinned by or reliant upon their network. The only time that we use their network is to stake tokens, to unstake tokens, or to pay miners. So what that means is if someone wants to execute a transaction on our network, they don't need to use Ethereum to instigate that transaction on our network. And because they don't need to do that, none of our performance of our network is impinged or impacted in any way by the Ethereum network. Patrick Iso wants to know, what are my feelings about the market having less ICOs and new project competition? Sparkster has a great chance to develop a dominant image on the alt market now that the craze has almost calmed down. Seems like a strong opportunity for growth. I certainly agree with certain aspects of that, in this time, I think that we've done a good job of taking advantage of the downturn in conditions. Now, it wasn't planned, but it just turned out that our weekly AMAs have led to us being one of the most communicative projects in the entire industry. And I think that we've become known to be this project that's communicating all the time about its development and its updates. Now, certainly that provides a great deal of reassurance to people, right? We're here, every week what we're doing, what we did this week. I don't think you get that from many projects. So from that perspective, I think that, it's kind of worked very well in our favor that while we're communicating, other projects are not. While other projects are laying off staff, we're growing our team. So I think that we've done, things have worked out in our favor in that regard. What I'm not so sure about is that, that we'll have less ICOs in the future. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think that right now we don't have very many. By the time we unlock, we probably won't have very many projects that are unlocking around the same time because many or most projects have already unlocked. From what I understand, there are projects, a lot of projects are struggling to raise capital in this market. But I think that, for example, if the SEC were to put out a regulatory framework for ICOs, a regulatory framework for raising funds, I think that you'd see a return of the ICO market in a major way. And I think that that would be very positive, both for the development of new technology and the funding of projects, for opportunities for token holders to participate in, or potential token holders to participate in. And I do think it's going to, I think that this funding vehicle is not something that you can put back in the box. I don't think it's going away. I just think it's waiting for regulatory definition, if you will, or structure. Natalie, nice to see you again. I haven't seen you here for a long time. Great to have you back. Are we going to open an office in Los Angeles? How many people will be working there? I am going to LA to explore the possibility of opening an office in Los Angeles. What I realize, I've spent 12 years, I lived in the United States for 12 years, and I've traveled the US extensively, and I've traveled the world extensively, actually. What I realize is that different parts of the world have different specialties and different specializations, and operating as a global company allows us to take advantage of those different specializations. So what I'm looking at for Los Angeles is I'm looking at, for example, sales and marketing. I'm also planning to visit Salt Lake City in Utah. They're renowned for being great salespeople. So I'm exploring different regions to see what we might do there and how we might be able to take advantage of those local specializations. It's also why we are opening an office in Cambridge, because there's a local specialization in Cambridge of extremely highly qualified, highly talented, very, very, very knowledgeable people in the area of computer science and mathematics and so forth, obviously because of the university. But that being said, I'm not also turned off to, for example, Oxford, although I have focused on Cambridge. So what I'm really saying is that I think that it's important for us to get the right people in the right places that have those right sorts of skills. I do think, for example, that Americans are better salespeople than the British are. They have a better inclination for sales, although British people might disagree with me. And I'm British myself, so. S says that we should have an office in India too. We do have an office in India, in Bangalore. Are we working with entrepreneurs that develop dApps on top of Sparkster? I remember that we mentioned this earlier. We are in touch with some people, some startups that are interested in building on top of essentially building dApps on our platform, yes. And we're also looking at specific use cases that would be valuable for people to integrate with much larger projects than just a couple of dApps. I can't speak about them yet because they're still in their developmental stage. And I am aware that, for example, our AMAs are watched by our competitors. I really appreciate the excellent questions that I'm getting today in the AMA. Is this a better time for everybody? Rather than 5 p.m. GMT, is 6 p.m. GMT better for you guys? Do let me know. S wants to know, why don't we do meetups? We haven't done very many. We've done some meetups. We haven't done very many meetups because just the limitations on our own time. But it is something that we want to do and we'd like to do. Natalie wants to know, Natalie's saying she's 100% supporter and follower of Sparkster's progress. Thank you for the answers. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. So Pritam Ghosh wants to know, so at last, when release? First week of next month? Well, we're shooting for the end of this year. We wouldn't be working next week, all week, including Christmas Day, if we weren't shooting for this year. So right now, my consideration isn't into next year. It's into what do we need to do to make sure that we have a network up and running by the end of this year, and everybody in our team is focused on the same goal. S says that we should plan meetups in metropolitan cities in India. I think we will do that. Jared Palmer wants to know if I'll be doing AMAs from the US. Jared, I appreciate the support. I see you in the group quite often, and I appreciate you being part of the community. Yeah, I will be doing AMAs from the US. It will be the morning for me rather than the evening for me. But yes, the AMAs will continue while I'm in the US. They won't stop. How much am I paying my staff to work on Christmas? Well, they'll get some extra time off and certainly a good bonus at the end of the year. Sim says we should have an office in Jamaica. I'd love that. I'd love to come and visit Jamaica and spend some time there. Maybe even get a day or two off. That would be lovely. Prism wants to meet me soon in Bangalore. Yeah, I'd love to meet you guys, when I do go out there again. Jota wants to know, am I going to the third Blockchain Connect conference? It will take place in downtown San Francisco on January 11th, 2019. This would be a good opportunity to land in this market considering the office opening. I'm not aware of that, but I'll certainly check it out. I'm very close to San Francisco. I will be in San Francisco. I have a few meetings out there. So I can maybe move things around to coordinate that sort of time frame. Something that I'll definitely take a look at. Pritson says, Merry Christmas to me and the team. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to all of you too. And Happy Hanukkah. Lights are going out around me as people leave the office. I'm in a meeting room as there's a party going on in our office downstairs. I'll take a few more questions and then we'll wrap up for the evening. How does everyone feel about the market conditions? Do you guys feel that the direction of the market has changed? Do you feel like this is a brief recess before we continue to go down? What's the general sentiment? I'd love to hear what you guys think. Riddler wants to know, he wants to open a business in his country. Can you name it Sparkster? Depends on which country. We've got trademark registrations in various countries for the word Sparkster. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions. Give it another minute or so. People still feel it's too early to answer that question. And the market in general is undecided. Nikita thinks that we're going to retest 50 MA. Riddler says in 1 to 2 years, Sparkster will be a name that everybody knows. That's certainly what we're working hard to achieve. Lucky says Facebook developing their own chain is big news today. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you very much. And I will catch you guys from the other side of the world in my next AMA. Have a lovely weekend and enjoy yourselves. Take care. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.